How to beat seller's stress when selling your home. Let's get into it, guys. My name is Sandy. I'm a licensed realtor here in the Central Florida area. I work with all these different networks across the states, all these different great things. And today I want to do a video for you on how to beat seller's stress when selling your home. Is that a thing? Seller's stress? What is that? Sellers get stressed out? We thought buyers did, not sellers. But yes, it's real. There are three things that are certain in life: life, debt, and taxes, right? That's definitely certain. And because we have these three things, with these three things comes a lot of stress. A lot. Each of them, whether good or bad, is associated with stress. So let's talk about it. So you decide to sell your home, and your home is on the market, and you have to live a certain way to keep the home market ready. So the first thing I would advise is, if you're selling your home, it's on the market, try to have a 2-day open house where you actually prepare for this. So that means you stage the home out. Hopefully you have a realtor that's working with you, because that's a great asset. And you tell your realtor, okay, I'm going to have an open house for 2 days, or maybe you're doing it yourself. Make sure to stage the home correctly. As I've always said, first impression, right? So they did a study earlier this year, and they said the first room that the buyer walks into must be the most impressive, which more than likely is going to be the living room or the family room. So living or the family room, the kitchen, and the owner's suite is the three places you want to make sure you stage. So you want to stage the home as if it's a new built model home as much as you possibly can. You want to declutter, you want to take off any personal items, and you want to do a 2-day open house. You want to make sure you market for this open house really well, and you want to make sure you invite as many people as possible. If you have a realtor, they're going to be marketing it, of course, and you want to make sure you have as much sign as possible. Why is this important, and why would this help me to relieve stress? Because instead of having to prepare the home every time there's a showing, you're giving the public these 2 days to see the home. That's why it has to be well. It has to be done very well. The home has to be staged out. Everything got to be perfect, because you're trying to get a buyer, not only just a buyer, you want to get multiple offers in these 2 days that you're doing this open house. Could be Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is. What you want to do if you have a realtor working with you is you want to, those 2 days that you're going to have those 2 open houses, you want to plan a family day with your family, because you don't want to be in the home if you're using a realtor. So you want to go away, maybe a little getaway, a one-night getaway, something like that, because that will take your mind off of things, and that will give the realtor a chance to do the entire open house. Now, if you're doing it yourself, you want to get rid of the rest of your family. So you don't really want to have the kids around. So maybe you want to make arrangement with other family members or friends to keep the kids and the pet. All that stuff, you want to be gone. It could be you and your husband, or maybe by yourself, whatever it is. That's the first stress reliever, because I know it's very harsh sometimes to having to always get the house in show ready, make it showing ready for each buyer that's coming through. So hopefully you'll be able to get multiple offer. Pricing is going to be very important. So you may want to price 10 or 20,000 under asking price or under market value. I know, don't kill me. The reason for that is to stimulate to get as much offers as you could get. And people will make offers on homes that are under market value. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get that price. People are going to start to outbid each other. That's what you want. You always want to have a bidding thing going on when you're selling a home. That's the first way to relieve stress. The next thing is you're going to start to second guess yourself. You're going to start to say, well, do I really need to sell? Oh my God, I should not put the property on the market. Maybe we could wait. That's totally normal. It's totally normal. Everyone's going to second guess themselves. You also might find yourself second guessing yourself when you get a contract on the home. Like, oh, wait a minute, this is really real. I really have a contract on the home. Do I really want to sell? That's normal. Because once you make the decision to put the property on the market, more than likely you had a good enough reason. So second guessing yourself is normal. Buyers do the same thing. They call it buyer's remorse. We're going to call it seller's remorse. It's okay for you to be like, oh my gosh, do I really want to sell? That's fine. Another thing you want to keep in mind to avoid stress is if the buyer comes back with a list of stuff after their inspection. So what do I tell my sellers to do? Do a pre-inspection before you put the home on the market. Because you live in the home, you might not see repairs that needs to be done. So you want to do a pre-inspection before you put the home on the market and fix anything that comes up that you feel would deter a buyer, right? You definitely want to do that. Now, once you do that, you can't anticipate what the buyer is going to come up with. So when they do their inspection, we're going to get the inspection report back, and we're going to, the buyer might ask for stuff. Maybe you might say you'll come down in price. Maybe you might say I want to repair stuff. But if it comes on to where the buyer wants you to repair something, you want to make sure you have some extra cash in order for you to do so. Another way to release stress is think about where you're moving to. You're possibly selling a smaller home, going to a bigger home, or maybe you're selling a bigger home, going to a smaller home. Whatever it is, you're maybe upsizing, downsizing. Whatever it is, think about your life after the sale. You have to envision this to keep yourself sane, right? Why am I selling? Am I relocating because of a job? Am I selling to be with my family? Why am I selling? Think about why you're selling and also what that's going to cause you, what's going to happen after the sale. Think about that part. You move into another home, you move into another town. That's going to be so exciting. You're going to have a whole new other life, right? Once this house is gone. So keep your vision on that, and that will help you to stress less in the whole selling process. Another thing to do is maybe you might be moving to another town, a whole lot of different experience. So that's something that you also should look towards in order to release stress. Another thing to release stress in selling a home, if you have older appliances or older HVAC system, and the buyer is going to complain about that, offer a home warranty. Offer a home warranty insurance, like a 2-year home warranty to the buyer. Why? Most people offer 1 year. So if you offer a 2-year, the buyer will more likely take that bait. Obviously, it's not a bait, but they will take that over 1 year. Builders offer 1 year warranty, so you offer a 2-year. Especially if you have a home that you're competing with new construction, or that's going to be a little bit hard to sell because it's a little bit unusual. So that's something you do as well. Okay, very important. That's going to relieve your stress. Another thing is to plan family activities during the sale. So if you're with a family, you're moving your old family away, this is a family home they're living in, plan different activities for the kids or for your family. That way you stay excited while selling. If you only think about selling, like all the things, if you start thinking about all the things that could go wrong in the sale, then you're going to stress yourself out. If you have a realtor working with, they will be there to help alleviate a lot of the stress that you might be thinking about, and they will prepare you ahead of time. So if you're working by yourself, make sure you read different topics on, the whole home sale process. That way you don't get yourself stressed out, because there's a lot of little things that could happen. Let's talk about some of the things that could really stress you out. Maybe the buyer did their inspection and they came back and they're asking for way more stuff than you anticipate, or they're asking for stuff that you don't think need repair, or they're asking for stuff that makes no sense. That's going to be typically normal. If you have a realtor, talk to the realtor about what you're willing to do and not do, and have them deal with that. If you're not working with a realtor, you're working by yourself, think about what you're willing to do and not do, and present that to the buyer, and they could either take it or leave it. You have to have that kind of situation. Another thing that could go wrong is you pass the inspection stage and the buyer financing is getting kind of tricky. Meaning the buyer is having issues with getting their financing. Doesn't mean they won't get it, but there's some hiccups and you're aware of this. That's typically normal. For most financing, I would say 90%, if not more financing, there's going to be a stage where there's a hiccup. The bank wants something that the buyer don't think the bank should need, or there's a missing paperwork, or whatever it is. It's going to happen. It really is. Just anticipate it. It's going to happen. Doesn't mean they're not going to get the loan. It just could happen. Maybe the buyer need to come and ask you for something. That's going to happen. All these things could happen. Another thing is closing date. This is very stressful for sellers. Closing date. Because you are planning your move to the closing date that the buyer gave you, and now the buyer might need to move your closing date. Now the bank is taking longer to finance the loan. Doesn't mean that they're not going to get it, but the bank might need another week or two. Maybe it's taking them a little bit longer to get their loan commitment. All these things are normal. Anticipate them, and just know that if they give you a closing date of whatever it is, think that it might close 2 weeks after that date, right? I know it's hard for you to schedule a moving truck and then say, oh, I don't know. But don't have anything in confidence, or don't precise anything until you actually get clear to close, because that's when we know we're going to close. So when we get clear to close, that means you have a week or two to close it. So wait for the clear to close. Of course, you're going to be packing up your stuff and doing all that great stuff, but don't put anything in concrete until we have a clear to close with that particular buyer. The biggest challenge and stress in selling a home is the closing date being moved from what's on the contract, or the buyer needed an extension, not because the buyer want to be evil, not because the buyer is mean, but because their lender needs more time. Most of the time when the buyer asks for extension, it's always going to have to be with financing, most of the time. So these are things to keep in mind. So if you can anticipate them, then you don't need to stress out about them, because you already know that's going to happen. So these are some of the things that you could do to not stress out too much in selling a home, because you already anticipate. Two of the biggest stressful things is after the inspection, right? Because you want to know what the buyer wants to fix, or if they're taking the home, and closing date. And then in between that is showings. And as we discussed earlier in the video, try to prepare the home so you could have, 2 big open houses 2 days in a row to facilitate getting a bunch of offers. That's going to include staging the home correctly, pricing a little bit on the market, offering a 2-year warranty if you have older appliances, that kind of stuff. That will allow the buyer to want to make an offer, and there's not too much back and forth. I really hope this helped, guys. I'll see you in the next videos. We have, I think my number should be somewhere up here where you could send us a text or give us a call for a complimentary consultation to dig deeper into this. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.